for anyone over the age of 45 to start taking these drugs. Statins can cause elevations in liver enzymes, which are an indication of liver stress or damage. Cholesterol is manufactured by your body in the liver. So low cholesterol is just as problematic as high cholesterol. If you haven't been diagnosed with high cholesterol yourself, then you probably know somebody who has. Just about everyone over the age of 40 or 45 these days is diagnosed with some kind of high blood fats, high cholesterol, or something along those lines that needs to be addressed. And more often than not, the doctor will suggest taking drugs or statins to try and control cholesterol. And it's actually been recommended for anyone over the age of 45 to start taking these drugs, statins, to control cholesterol. And they're highly controversial. There's a lot of negative side effects. I've personally seen a lot of negative side effects in my clinic. And there are a lot of alternatives, and especially food and herbs can do a lot to address high cholesterol. And what we want to talk about today is why cholesterol gets high in the first place, why it's a problem, and why it may not be a problem, in fact, and why the body is producing cholesterol in excessive levels and what you can do to address that with food and with herbs. So what I'm going to do is share a web page. You'll see the QR code in the top corner there. And if you scan that, that'll take you to the page where all the details are, and you can go into the research and look at these things at your leisure. So what I'm going to do is cover quite a lot of material in a fairly short space of time, 15 to 20 minutes. And I'll just give you the brief overview of what you can do and some deeper understandings and insights into cholesterol. And I'm calling this the 7 secrets of cholesterol. So let's get into it. All right, so first of all, it's really good to understand cholesterol and have a look at what it is that's going on with cholesterol around the world. And you'll see here different countries that we've highlighted: Africa, the Americas, Eastern Mediterranean, Europe, Southeast Asia, and Western Pacific. And there's also income brackets. And you'll see the higher income brackets have the highest problem. This is also broken down into male and female, and then both. But interestingly, the countries that have the higher incomes and also the higher abundance of processed food, more often than not, have the highest cholesterol problems: Europe and the Americas. So that's really interesting. So it's a major problem worldwide. You can see the World Health Organization statistics there, up to 54%. So it's no wonder they start prescribing these drugs, these statins, quite early on. There's 2 types of cholesterol. You've probably heard about this. There's the good and bad, or they call it good and bad. The good is HDL, which is high density lipoprotein. So lipo being fat, so it's a fatty protein substance. LDL is the bad one, low density lipoprotein, the bad cholesterol. So it travels from your cells to your liver, where it's processed and removed from the body. It's also produced in the liver, and it travels out to the cells in the body. It becomes a problem. The bad cholesterol becomes a problem when it starts clogging up the arteries. So quite often they've found people that have died with heart attacks, heart failures, even those sort of thing, is that there is a cholesterol plaques building up in the arteries. And especially bad when it's around the heart, of course. But it can happen in other parts of the body. They use a cholesterol ratio to calculate your total cholesterol. Ideally, you want to have your cholesterol ratio below 3.5, so a lower cholesterol ratio is better. And it's done by calculating the LDL to the HDL. And we're not going to go into that in too much detail. But that's what you're looking for normally, is if your LDLs are high and your HDLs are low, so good is low and the bad cholesterol is high, then you've got a problem and that ratio starts to increase. A really important thing to know about cholesterol is produced mainly in the body itself. So it's manufactured in the liver. Cholesterol is manufactured by your body in the liver. And this is a really key thing to understand. 80% of the body's cholesterol is made in the liver. and only 20% of it comes from dietary sources, from food. And so what they do most commonly with drugs is, with these statins, is they try to reduce the production of cholesterol. And what the statins do is they block the enzymes in the liver that are responsible for producing the cholesterol, or part of the pathway that the cholesterol is produced is via this enzyme. And so by blocking this enzyme, they lower the amount of production of cholesterol in the liver. So there's another type of drug called bile acid sequestrants. This is an alternative, and what these do is help to reduce the bile acid. So you can dig into this further if you really want to do this, how these drugs work and how they operate. One thing to notice about this, particularly the statins, I should mention this, is that they found that statins can cause elevations in liver enzymes, which are an indication of liver stress or damage. And there's also a link to increased risk of developing diabetes. But one of the main effects I've seen in practice is this muscle pain and weakness. So I've seen a lot of men in particular that are in their 50s and into their 60s that have got this terrible weakness and pain in the lower body after being put onto statins. So it's something to really look out for. There's no real alarm bells being raised by the medical profession about using statins, so they're just basically widespread use is what's going on with these. Here's a great video which talks more about cholesterol and what it does in your body, how it operates, how it gets into the arteries. But what I wanted to do really here is dig into what's causing the high cholesterol and what we can do to address it. So that's just a bit of a background understanding of what this cholesterol is doing. So it's a type of fat, and it's found in saturated fats mostly. So meat, dairy, and eggs are probably the highest sources of cholesterol in your diet. But you really do need cholesterol in your body. It's a vital nutrient. And so by going on a low cholesterol diet and by at the same time inhibiting the production of cholesterol by your liver, you're essentially starving your body of a vital nutrient. And this nutrient goes into the hormonal pathways. So it's not just the steroid hormones, the corticosteroids, but also estrogen and testosterone. So major hormones in the body. The cholesterol is like the raw material ingredient to produce those hormones down that pathway. So if you starve the body of cholesterol and you block cholesterol production because you're worried about cholesterol in the blood, then essentially what you're doing is starving the body of the main ingredient that it needs to make testosterone, estrogen, and the steroid hormones in your body, including the adrenal hormones and the corticosteroids. So by doing that, by the way, it's also used to make vitamin D. And this can explain why the aches and pains and the muscle weakness, the lethargy that comes from having low testosterone, low adrenal hormones, low vitamin D, and all of those things. So it makes perfect sense. So a low cholesterol diet and a low cholesterol production by your liver can give you these terrible side effects. And menopausal symptoms are also a sign of low cholesterol. So low cholesterol is just as problematic as high cholesterol. Really important to remember. And when you think about it, it's no wonder your body might make more cholesterol as you get older, because you need more of these hormones to give you the energy and drive you need to keep going. So that's just an important thing to remember, an important link in the chain of understanding cholesterol. Then we've got the acid link. So it is known that your body will produce more cholesterol and deposit it into the arteries when your cardiovascular system is under attack. In other words, if you've got a high acid diet, acid loading the body, your blood pH hardly ever changes. But in saying that, your tissue pH does change and you can get under attack internally from acid. And so it's likely that your body, when it's under attack from acid, can get cardiovascular damage, and therefore your body will use It's also antioxidant. When you're low in antioxidants, and there's oxidative damage to the cardiovascular system. So those two things, then your body will produce more cholesterol, and it will dump cholesterol into the weak spots. So if there's damage to your arteries or veins, the cholesterol will end up going into those damaged areas and causing what they call plaques. So it's basically covering up or patching weak areas in the cardiovascular system that could herniate or rupture. So a really interesting thing. Your body's making more cholesterol for a reason. And that's the thing we need to address, is the reason why that cholesterol is being made in excess and why it's being deposited in the arteries. So looking after your cardiovascular health is a key thing to lowering cholesterol. There's a little ebook here which gives you another way of looking at this page in nice flip book fashion. It's not as detailed as the web page, but it's great to download on your phone or your iPad. So what I'm going to do now is give you some natural things you can do to lower cholesterol, and we'll go into the foods to start with. So we were saying that foods only contribute 20% of the cholesterol that's in the body, and the liver produces the rest, the remaining 80%. But there are raw materials your liver uses to make the cholesterol, which is the saturated fats. But also, the reason that it's making the cholesterol is the cardiovascular damage and the acidity that's going on. So low antioxidant diet, low potassium diet, acid-forming diet, all of those things can contribute. So what we need to do is look at the foods. So the damaging foods, and this is not so much because these foods are high in cholesterol, but it's because they've got bad fats, and bad fats are no good for the body. And bad fats cause acidic inflammation in the body as well. So we need to limit these foods, and processed foods and acid-forming foods, and foods that are low in potassium, foods that are acid-forming, that are inflammatory, that are low in antioxidants. All these foods are bad for your body, bad for your cardiovascular health, and therefore they will push up cholesterol. So a really important thing to remember, it's not about reducing saturated fat in your diet, because that's an ingredient for cholesterol being made. That's not the key to it. The key to it is to reduce the inflammatory acid-forming foods that damage your cardiovascular system. Not so much worry about the fats. So that's interesting, isn't it? Good fats are good, and they help cardiovascular health. So we're going to go and look at some of those. So we want to increase these high fiber foods, avoid processed fats, low sugar consumption, obviously alcohol, red meat, they're all acid forming, deep fried, barbecued meats, highly acid forming foods, highly inflammatory foods, zero antioxidants, in those foods. So some of the cholesterol lowering foods, have a quick look at some of these. Potassium rich foods are fruits and vegetables, basically. High potassium foods which are alkalizing to the body, and also high in antioxidants, protect the blood vessel walls. That's the main thing. So it's mentioning here uric acid. Now, of course, your kidneys are responsible for eliminating uric acid. So having lots of water, flushing the system with herbal teas, stimulating the kidneys to dump uric acid, having lots of alkaline food, because uric acid mainly comes from having too much meat and alcohol. Cider vinegar and lemons do a similar thing. They help the body emulsify the fats and get good fat circulation through the body, and they're alkalizing. Fiber's good. Fiber helps to regulate fat metabolism. It's very, very good for the body in general for stabilizing the blood sugar, and the blood sugar and cholesterol are closely linked. So there's some good fiber foods there. Sterols. So this is a nice area to look at. Now these are basically very, very good hormonally supportive compounds. So sterols are known to help support balanced progesterone and estrogen in the body, so particularly good for women, but also good for men. And these are often added to foods these days, but the most common source is soy and soy products. So you also get good fats with soy products. And speaking of good fats, there's a couple more. A few nuts is good. Salmon, good olive oil. I wouldn't recommend a lot of the processed oils except for maybe hemp oil and olive oil. Perhaps some avocado oil. Fatty fish, salmon, detox diet foods. This is all part of the Mediterranean diet. High antioxidant foods, grains, fruits and vegetables. It's all part of the Mediterranean diet. So that gives you a really basic snapshot of diet. But it's not about just going low fat. It's a really interesting thing. And we'll look at some of the herbs here. So these are herbs that most of the cholesterol lowering herbs support the liver function and the digestive function. So quick look at some of these. Aloe vera, it's a all-round superfood regulator. It's just an incredible, you often think of it just for the skin, but it's an incredible all-round superfood. So you can use this in any way, shape or form, but particularly aloe juice or aloe drink is really, really good. Cinnamon, there's been some quite good studies on cinnamon, 17 randomized controlled trials. So it's been shown to reduce cholesterol quite effectively. I highly recommend using this in drinks or smoothies or on food. It's very, very good. Cayenne pepper or chilies, that helps the whole body's fat burning process. So it stimulates that whole cycle of fat movement in the body. And this is another key thing with cholesterol, is keeping the fat circulating, keeping it moving, keeping your fat burning process going on. Not about inhibiting it or stopping it. That's a really bad approach to anything to do with metabolism, and that's the main approach a lot of the pharmaceutical drugs use, is block or jam or even replace. The pharmaceutical approaches are not great, period. Dandelion, this is a fantastic liver tonic herb, so it helps stimulate liver function, helps rebuild liver function. Another one is milk thistle, which is very much in the same family of herbs as dandelion. Great tonic for the liver. Garlic. Now this is really good cardiovascular herb. And you'll probably notice some of these herbs are cardiovascular, like the cinnamon. It's cardiovascular. It's also used for blood pressure. Garlic, chili is another cardiovascular herb. So really looking after that cardiovascular health is a key component. Here's another one, for example. Ginger, well-known cardiovascular tonic, circulatory tonic, looks after the blood vessel health and circulation. Another liver tonic, globe artichoke, is a very, very good liver tonic. Helps to restore liver function, protect the liver function. And there's milk thistle we talked about earlier. So these are some of the key liver herbs. Papaya, that's quite an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, that's a fruit. So papaya has this really interesting effect on the body's digestive system. It's got enzymes which really help support digestion and breakdown of protein. So a very good digestive herb, and looking after digestive health is a big part of managing cholesterol. Along with this one, psyllium, bulking fibre. Most of these herbs, I've got trials, linked to trials or clinical trials, but I mean, you can look these up quite quickly. We do have the links to the trials on the webpage. Turkish rhubarb, it's another laxative herb, digestive herb, liver tonic herb. And turmeric, another incredible cardiovascular herb. So there's a range of herbs there that you may not think of when you're talking about managing cholesterol. And what I like to do is use all of them. So in our cholesterol program, which I'll get to at the end, is all of these herbs are combined and used all together. So you've got a super rounded effect towards managing cholesterol through liver health and cardiovascular health, and a little bit of diet. And with the program, most people lose a bit of weight. So 5 kgs is quite often enough to get a big impact on cholesterol, because obviously you're getting that metabolism going and the fat burning going and the movement of fat metabolism in the body. And it's hormonal stimulation and getting those hormones to move and get pumping, in your body. So that's a big thing. High intensity exercise is also really good. And for improving cardio health, but also fat burning and hormonal health, especially high intensity short bursts of exercise like weightlifting or body weight exercise. One thing I recommend a lot of is just doing 20 squats a day, work up to 40 if you can. Even if you have to start at 10 and add 1 per day and work your way up to 40. Squats are incredible for that high intensity muscle and fat burning. So they'll really get the body's metabolism going hormonally. Obviously, stress is a factor. Stress is a factor with cholesterol, blood sugar, and all of these metabolic issues, because the stress and the cortisol production during stress tends to shut everything down on your internal metabolic system. So your fat burning, your sugar control, all of those things drastically affected by stress. So do what you can do there. Relax, meditate, go for walks, get plenty of rest. Look at all the things that you can do around that. It's also really important to get checked before and after. So I recommend checking yourself before the cholesterol program and then again after the cholesterol program and see what's going on there. And here's a quick look at the program. So we recommend all of the dietary advice above along with these herbs. So we contain the program contains all of the herbs we mentioned, as I mentioned above, and it comes in various forms. So you can get the drink or capsule detox, which has a lot of the herbs in it, and that's a bowel cleanse and weight loss program. And then you go on to the liver cleanse, which has more of those herbs, and this is a top up on those herbs in a liquid form. And a liquid form gives you the bitter stimulant effect for the digestion in the liver. Aloe vera juice, which we spoke about, really good for balancing cholesterol. Bulking fiber. Now this is also an important thing for cholesterol, is getting that bulking fiber to help to draw those fats out of the system. So there's a complete program and the free ebook. Awesome. So I hope that's been helpful and given you some insights into what you can do to take control of your cholesterol and what some of the secrets are. I think the biggest thing really is understanding cholesterol itself, what its function is, why the body makes it, what it does, and why it's important not to go down the route of low cholesterol diet, low fat diet, or statins to block cholesterol production in your liver, because that can cause liver damage, interfere with your body hormonally, and so on. And to me, that's the biggest insight that I've gained from doing all the research and looking into all of this. But herbs, incredible what they can do for your liver metabolism and your cardio health, and the same with the food. And of course, the power of your mind. Meditation is one of the most powerful things I've come across. And if you want to look into that, there's this technique on our website that you can search out and look up. I'll drop a link for that in the description as well. But combining all of these things, remember, it's all about combining things into the synergistic triangle, I call it. The food and the herbs and the power of your mind is the foundation to it all. So I hope you give that a crack and get your cholesterol under control and get the doctor off your back. That's what it's all about. So good luck and thanks for watching. Talk soon.